Mara, you're a very like competent, capable person. Like you are so good at everything you do.
It comes from insecurity, though.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. It comes from insecurity and fear of, like, not being competent. And so, like, for better or for worse, that is the thing that has fueled me. Like, now I can understand where it comes from, and I can, like, balance it out of, like, whether things are healthy or not. But, like, for a very long time, I didn't understand that that's where it comes from, where it's like, Mari, we need a 50-page letter by tomorrow morning. And I say yes out of the fear of sounding like I can't do it.
Right. I think we do that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like you're able to admit it, and I think a lot of people don't admit that, and I think it's awesome that you just did.
It's been a long time to understand it. It's like I think I still catch myself doing it where it's like, why do I have so many things on my plate?
Yep.
It's because I have a fear of saying no, and it's a fear of like rejection. Like if I say no too many times, people stop asking, and so I'm like, oh, I can't say no, so I have to say yes, and now I have like no time, and
I resonate so hard with that.
Yeah.
It hurts.
I think like as a female, like you also feel like for me personally,
We can do it.
Yeah, it's like for me personally, I feel like I have like, first of all, I just want to always say yes because I feel like if I don't, I'll just seem rude or like mean or something. And then I also just want to prove to that person that's asking me to do something that I can do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like I need to trust that I just have to do things that make me fulfilled. And like I have nothing to prove to anyone. And I think that's something that I'm still struggling with and just like trying to do, you know? Like, I don't know. I struggle with all the time. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I get a script for this. And I'm like, I don't really like it. And it's like, I can also say no. I don't need to do it. I don't need to do everything.
Yeah.
You know? And like taking that pressure off of myself.
I think women grow up with this chip on our shoulders, and it's like it comes from so many different things, but I feel like somehow society has continuously have had us grow up with the thought that we're expendable. Like, oh, you can't do it? I'll find someone else who
Exactly.
can. And it's like, you know, you and I came up with a dancing background, and it's very much like that. It's like, oh, you can't handle this part? There's a girl who has the exact same body shape as you, who has the same skill, who we can replace in a second. You are absolutely replaceable. And in a lot of ways, like, I think we grow up with that mentality. And, you know, sometimes, like, schools reinforce that, workplaces reinforce that, and it's important to understand what reinforces that in your life and why.
It's just and to be honest, I felt very replaceable, and when we were at Defy, it felt like I was
They
like
told us that.
Yeah, they literally told us we can replace you easily, and that made me feel like I wasn't valuable, and that type of enforcement just makes you feel like you're not important, you know? And it's just like, even though no one's saying that to you, like, oh, you're not important, but then inside, we're sensitive people, and I think that, like, I would think that, I'm like, okay, so I don't feel special in this position at all. Like, I feel like you can call another person in and just take my spot.
Yeah.
And this just made me feel insecure and, like, very lost, you know?
Ian had talked about this one guy at Defy who, like, it felt very weird what his job position was. I remember having lunch with him one day. It was, like, in the new year of 2018. And it was, like, I think he was just trying to, like, get prepared for, like, possibly renewing contracts a few months later. And he was like, yeah, like, so how do you feel? And I was like, you know, like, things feel kind of strange lately. Like, there's been layoffs. And you know, like, I'm starting to really, like, feel, like, the mortality of this job. And he was like, well, you know, you should. And like, it's so weird, like, as a human being, just being, like, having that rug ripped under you. Because, like, okay, so then is what I'm doing meaningless to you? Because I don't feel like it was. Like, I think a lot of times it's, like, a form of power to make someone feel like they're replaceable.
For sure.
And it's, like, in relationships even, it's, like, manipulative because it's like, I know I'm working my ass off and you're saying you could still easily replace me. And it's like, I sometimes, like, don't believe that person. I don't believe that.
It's like straight up like Stockholm syndrome is what we were going through, where it's like we love being with each other so much that we take the abuse from people who aren't even in the room with us ever, who never step foot in our office, but who have the power to tell us, like, oh, we're going to start phasing you out, which is what they started telling me. And I was like, cool.
They actually said that to you?
Yup. And I'm like, cool. The thing that I've been working on is not really ours. Cool.
When did that happen? Was it phasing out when they stopped Smosh Pit Weekly, or was it later on in like just games stuff?
It was games stuff. So it was basically like, oh, a little less like, you know, in a more timely fashion of like, oh, people won't notice sort of thing.
Ugh.
And it's like it's weird because it started to feel so far away from what we had all, you know, put so much time and effort into. And it's, I don't know. It's incredible how we've been able to scoop up everything and then like start over and like start like building this like mashed potato of like fun stuff and all the good stuff, you know. And I think it's incredible that all the good stuff remained out of all that.
And I think this person that you're mentioning also told me that he would compare my work to another person's work within the company, and it's like, you should do it like this person because you should follow in this person's footsteps. I'm like, well, this person's journey and their life is completely different than mine. Like, we're not the same person, and I don't like that type of authority, especially from someone who has not lived my life, who does not look like me, tell me how I should carry out my career and journey just because this other female did it right and he approved the way she did it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, I remember hearing that. I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm not doing something the way you envisioned my career to be like. And I'm like, but at the same time, I shouldn't feel apologetic about that, because the thing is, like, we're instilled like this competitiveness, especially amongst like women. It's like you compare
biological.
Yeah, and it's like I don't need someone to compare me to someone because I already feel a lot of insecurities within myself, you know? So it's like, I remember feeling pretty down, and I'm like, why am I letting this person affect me, you know? And it's like, we can all help each other, and like, great, I admire the way you came up. I admire the way you do your thing. Like, and I should also admire the way that I'm handling whatever I'm doing. So
that's so rough. That's like hearing a parent being like, why can't you be more like your sister?
Exactly.
And it's because I'm not my sister.
And it's like, would I ever say that to another person? Like, hey, you should do this like this person. It's like, I thought, you know, we're all individuals. We do our own thing. And it's,
There's just so much more constructive ways of doing any kind of criticism for someone. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's highlight clip.
The full audio episode is available now wherever podcasts are found, or you can click the links below.
The full video episode comes out on Fridays, so be sure to subscribe and punch that bell!
To watch our most recent episode, click that box on the right.
Also, check out our clothing line at smosh.store.
Bye, guys!
Remember to self-care yourself.